Hey Kyle, I'm glad you have an M1 Garand. I was going to ask you about that today.
Well, hey Brad, how you doing?
So my first question is, what made the M1 Garand so important in the war effort?
Well, really, there's a couple of things here with the old M1. This is the workhorse of the American Army. World War II on through Korea. This is really going to be a big game changer. And it's a game changer because it does not have a bolt action. It's a semi-automatic. There's no bolt to pull. It fires this clip. It's got 8 rounds. Your average infantryman in World War II, he's going to get out about 45 to 50 rounds per minute. What that means is he's going to be able to fire as quick as he can pull the trigger, reload, and pull the trigger again. Whereas your typical German guy, he is going to be firing a shot, racking a bolt to chamber a new round. He has to reposition and fire again, Brad. So really you're talking about getting a whole lot more lead downrange with a squad of 12 guys firing 50 rounds a minute than your typical German unit would be able, of the same size, would be able to do.
Okay, Kyle, so what are some technical aspects or specifications of the M1 Garand?
Okay, a couple specs on the M1. There were about 4,040,000 of these things produced, all the way up to about 1952, 53. As I said earlier, this weapon is going to be the workhorse of the American Army throughout World War II, especially at D-Day and on into Korea. In fact, a large number of these are going to be even shipped overseas to multitude of nations ranging from England to Iran during and after World War II. It's going to fire a 30 caliber or 30-06 round, 8 clip. It is accurate out to about 500 yards. Range goes out to about 1,500, but your chances of accuracy getting out to 1,500 yards is very short. It is a weapon that weighs 9.5 pounds. That's without the clip. With the clip, weighs in right around 11. So you're talking about a very hefty, meaty rifle here. And it is a rifle, so it's got grooves in the barrel, rifling, to impart that all-important spin for accuracy.
So how does the M1 Garand function? Can you show us a little bit about it?
I can try, Brad. I am by no means an expert with this weapon, but one of the reasons the Army adopted the M1 back in the 1930s was its ease of use. It was simple, it was reliable, and it's going to be very accurate. As I mentioned before, it's going to fire this removable clip, 8 rounds, 30-06 or 30 cal, whichever you want to prefer to call it. You're going to set it on the top. It is a top load. So you seat it, you push it down like so. And that little ping that you just heard as this little box clip comes out was one of the big concerns that the U.S. Army had. They felt like the Germans would key in on the fact that they were out of ammunition. Some interviews with German soldiers, however, said that they were only dimly aware of that, perhaps. Most of them said they could not hear over the roar of battle, so to speak. So it was basically a mental thing for the American soldier. They were always worried about that ping that you just heard coming out of the rifle. That's one of the drawbacks of this weapon. The other drawback is its heft. 9.5 pounds, almost 11 fully loaded. It becomes a cumbersome beast after a little bit of time. It feels good, but it gets really heavy. So that's one thing we want you to feel is how heavy this weapon truly is when you get it in your hands sometime this summer. Okay, this M1 is fairly unique. First of all, is in great condition, as you can see. We have checked the serial numbers here on the plate. It was made in the Springfield Armory. Springfield was one of the major producers of the M1. And in fact, they held the patent. And the serial number, we checked that. That goes back to June of 1942 when this particular weapon was produced. So you're talking about right in the middle of the war when this weapon came out. America entered the war in December of 41. So this is 8 months into the war. This weapon is coming off the line, presumably to be handed out to some American soldier somewhere in the world during that time. We really would like for you to come down and take a look at this weapon. It is an amazing weapon. It's got great heft. You really feel like you could do some good shooting with this rifle. I mean, it makes you want to pick it up and shoot it. But it's a really cool weapon. We want to get it in your hands so you can kind of compare it with other weapons that you may have heard about, in your daily life or hear about on the news or things like that. But this is a really cool weapon, the M1 Garand.